Hi guys, it's ASBYT and this... Dotty. Hi guys, it's ASBYT and I've been using the OnePlus 9 Pro as my daily device for roughly around 2 weeks now. And this is my full review. There are some things I absolutely love here, but there are also a couple of things that I think could and probably should be improved. Oh, and there was a slight unanticipated drop test as well. And thanks to Gigabyte for sponsoring today's video. So firstly, let's talk battery. And originally I had my concerns about a 4500 mAh battery cell powering a Quad HD Plus resolution display with a 120Hz refresh rate, etc. And this concern has to some extent been realised, but also invalidated at the same time, depending on who you are and your usage case. Let me explain. Now, before I get to real world use, the technicalities are we actually have two battery cells inside that make up the 4500 mAh capacity. But by having two that charge at the same time, there is lower resistance so that it will output less heat when charging, and thus you can power your phone using the 65 watt warp charge from 0 to 100% in under 30 minutes. Awesome. And again, because there are two cells inside, they can both be wirelessly charged, 25 watts apiece, making up the 50 watts marketed wireless charging from 0 to 100 in around 45 minutes. So not as quick as the cable charging, but still incredibly quick for wireless charging compared to others on the market. So charging options, it is a straight tick. But what about battery drain? Well, to showcase my findings, I've actually grabbed some screenshots, and you will notice that on an average day, I took the phone off charge at 10:23 and the battery was 100%. And then I went about my day, and at 21:57 that night, the battery was at 10%. So basically 12 hours without the need to charge. Fantastic all-day battery, it seems. But if we take a closer look, you'll see the screen on time was around 4 hours. So what I can conclude from this is that if you're somebody who is constantly on your phone all the time, always using the display, gaming, watching movies, with all the maxed out settings from when you wake up to when you go to bed, then you probably won't get a full day's charge, and you will probably need to charge it mid to late afternoon. But if you're someone like me who does a bit of everything but isn't constantly on the display the whole time, it spends a bit of time in my pocket, at a desk, etc., and your screen on time is not huge amount during the day, then you'll get to the end of the day without the need to charge, absolutely no problems whatsoever. I often don't like the traditional battery drain tests because it never really seems to take into account idle drain. And I think for most of you who are checking your phone throughout the day, going on social media, taking a few photos, etc., but aren't on your phone 8 hours straight, then I think you'll find battery idle drain information fairly useful, as I would imagine you would information on the camera. And my evaluation of the partnership with Hasselblad. Very quickly, Hasselblad are a well-respected Swedish camera and lens manufacturer. First shots of the moon landing were taken on a Hasselblad camera, etc, etc. We've seen phone and camera manufacturers combine in a partnership before, and we'll see it again, but has this particular collaboration worked? And the answer to that is yes and no. Let's delve. The ultra-wide angle lens, for example, is really good. At a whopping 50 megapixels, the sensor compared to most ultra-wides is huge. Really great details, and the freeform lens works really well to reduce the kind of fisheye look, straightening the sides, and the outcome means photos shot on this lens do look really impressive. I like them a lot. The main sensor is 48 megapixels and on the most part also does a good job. Decent sharpness and detail, good dynamic range on the whole, and the Hasselblad partnership has focused a lot on the software side of things, providing more natural colour, and you can see that in some of these examples. It's not heavily saturated like some. However, in really harsh environments, it does, in my experience, struggle slightly with the details in the shadows when keeping the bright spots in check. But there are two slightly bigger issues here. We'll talk about that after the rest of the lens setup. The telephoto lens with 3.3 times optical zoom is nothing too special. I do wish maybe it had a 5 times optical zoom, for example, but it does the job. And there is a really nice Hasselblad Pro mode where you can add that little bit more creativity with your shots, just like you can using the monochrome camera. I don't personally use that, but it's there if you want to. So what are those couple of potential negatives with everyday standard shots? Well, due to the large sensor size, often focus can be slightly hit and miss with the edges of objects that should be in focus. When you're trying to get that really nice separation between the focal point and the sort of background, the edges can sometimes look a little bit messy. Furthermore, if you're taking portrait shots, they often look quite soft and lacking in detail, as you can see from these few examples here of Dotty. I've been using a Gcam mod and it seems to kind of do the job for portrait shots, so this potentially is something that they could look to improve in a software update. It's not all the time, it's just every now and again. Sometimes they're really sharp, but sometimes they're just a little bit muffled. I've just invented a new word. Two other things that I would consider slightly weird quirks, not terrible but just a bit strange. Firstly, when you take a photo which involves movement, there's a visible delay between when you press the shutter button and when the phone actually takes the shot. It actually looks like you've got one shot and then it jumps to a final shot a couple of frames later. A little bit strange. And also when you're trying to load the gallery sometimes, and actually loading photos in Instagram, bizarrely, for example, sometimes it seems to take a fair while. Yeah. Can't really explain it. So does that mean this camera setup with the new Hasselblad partnership sucks? No, not at all. It's a really good camera overall and pretty competitive in this area of the market. But I'm slightly more excited about where they're going to take this over the next few years than I am necessarily with this specific device, if you see what I mean. So much has been hyped about the OnePlus 9 and its camera, but what about the rest of the phone? Well, I'm not going to repeat information that I touched on in my initial unboxing and impressions video regarding the design and build quality. It's well documented, but I must admit, I do wish they'd used a later edition of Corning Gorilla Glass than the Gorilla Glass 5 on here. It may not, but it may have saved me from absolute disaster. My fault, I hold my hands up. I was balancing the phone, no case, on top of a speaker, charging, cable everywhere, and like Bitcoin in a correction, I knocked it and from desk to floor, the unanticipated drop test was complete, and on this occasion, it failed. Glass is glass. But on a more positive note, at least it wasn't the front display, which with the new Quad HD Plus LTPO adaptive 120Hz refresh rate display has been ultra smooth, responsive, and combined with the Oxygen OS software, which is very clean, light, free from any major bloatware, and reliable as ever, has been a joy to use. I haven't really noticed actually it drop. The adaptive nature means it can go from 120 down to just 1. I haven't noticed that, which is a good thing. But equally, I haven't really noticed, as I stated earlier, any major improvements with the battery performance. Maybe that's something that will improve over time. Performance of the internals on the whole has been really great. We expect this with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chip, industry leading on the Android side, brilliant for heavy intensive tasks like gaming. But the haptics are really pretty solid as well. It really kind of enhances that overall experience. Some phones just feel a bit off because the vibrations just feel a bit cheap and nasty. This competes at the highest level, and when you combine that with the very good stereo speakers, it's one pretty nice product. That was appalling. Something that isn't appalling is the product from today's video sponsor, Gigabyte, who have hooked me up with one of their brand new 2021 laptops, the Aero OLED 15, which is part of the RTX 30 series. It's also ideal for those looking to game, but on their laptop instead, and also partake in some serious content creation. It has a solid aluminium body, RGB backlit keyboard, and all of the ports your heart can desire. Internally, we're looking at a 10th gen Intel Core i7 10870H CPU and an RTX 3070 GPU. With that, you can expect the machine to cut through long gaming and intensive photo and video editing sessions with ease, and with this incredibly colour accurate 15.6-inch Samsung AMOLED 4K display, which matches the VISA Display HDR 400 True Black standard, even things as simple as settling down to a nice movie is a really great experience. I have already done a full dedicated video on this, so if you want more information, go and check that out. I will leave that in the video description below, along with a link to the product page. Go and check it out and let me know what you think. If I've missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. I will try and update you on Twitter and Instagram. If you have enjoyed this video and found it helpful, smash the like button, it really helps. And sub if you're new and love everything tech. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.
do just what you want.